Hello everyone, my name is AndreySadovykh and I would like to present our project VeriDevOps, which deals with automated security verification, starting from analyzing the requirements with NLP methods, formalizing these requirements and generating test cases and configuring various monitoring rules based on these formal rules extracted from the requirements. I present this project on behalf of my colleagues from Melardal University, SOF team, Abo Academy, Ikerlan, Montimash, Fagor, and ABB. So to start, I would like to present you some motivation for our project. So what we saw from previous years, that the number of vulnerabilities, the potential threats to the systems and to the companies, to organizations, businesses, this number of vulnerabilities has grown dramatically from 2002. So from nothing to over 20,000 vulnerabilities. So, and like in recent years, from 2012 to 2017, it actually doubled in terms of numbers. So for that, we have various reasons why this has actually happened. First of all, we actually tested quite a lot. More software is out there. We also say software eats the world, so everything is software-intensive system nowadays. So also these vulnerabilities are omnipresent in every industry, in every application, and this is something important that we would like to deal with. So to give you some more statistics about these vulnerabilities, CVE stands from Common Vulnerability Enumeration, which is a repository for various vulnerabilities. And in this repository, we'll see that most of them, like 80%, are some kind of network vulnerabilities, something related to networks, whereas there is a growing number of application vulnerabilities. Among those application vulnerabilities, 20% is the critical ones, so that could potentially lead to attack vectors and could lead to disaster. Interestingly, so we have like 80% of systems that have at least one vulnerability, and 70% had more than one, and 20% of systems have more than 10 vulnerabilities present, so which is actually quite disturbing for the current industry, right? So one thing to mention is the delays, the timeline, the duration to to fix those vulnerabilities. And we can see in the vulnerability lifecycle from OWASP guide that, I mean, there is actually quite some time like between the moment vulnerability is discovered, right, to the moment the vulnerability is patched. So first somebody discovers vulnerability. Hopefully this is kind of honest people that report that to the vendor, right? So the vendor then patches this vulnerability. The patch becomes available to the audience, right? This patch is distributed, and like public knows about that patch is widely available, and then the system is finally patched. So this time is represents the time when attacker can potentially take over the system and exploit this vulnerability to some particular reasons, right, that may affect the business of the company. So the goal is to decrease this time from the moment of discovery of vulnerability to the moment that the system, this vulnerability is addressed, both on operational side and on development side, and vulnerability is covered, closed, and so the system is safe, right? So interestingly, it is interesting to know what time we're talking about, right? And what industry says that we have like various, in terms of like breaches covered, many companies, like half companies, took longer than 10 days to remediate, to find the remedy for a situation, right? Average time for organization to close a discovered vulnerability is 67 days. So it's quite huge, right? Over 2 months, this vulnerability can actually be exploited, right? So also disturbingly, like around 40% of organizations say that they do not even scan for vulnerabilities. And many organizations use legacy systems and platforms that no longer support it, and so patches won't ever be available, right? So also it's important to notice that this process for closing vulnerabilities, discovering and closing vulnerabilities, and for 50% of companies is a manual process. So companies take some important time to manually patching vulnerabilities, right? And yeah, I mean, 60% of companies feel that are disadvantages. They rely on manual processes for applying software patches, and they rely on manual steps, manual processes and tools, and it's actually too difficult for them to decide correctly on priority levels of various patches. So this actually tells us that there is a lack of automation in this domain to help these companies to reduce effectively this huge amount of time that is needed from discovery to patching the system, right? We need to do something, because those security vulnerabilities are omnipresent due to internet. They are present in car, railway, Industry 4.0. So number of the security scenarios to be covered by developers explodes, right? And these vulnerabilities can cause a lot of damage to end users. So that could increase production and maintenance cost, but actually can damage reputation of the company as well, right? Or be even threaten the safety of the systems, right? So what we promote is that the security mechanism have to be built in and reinforced, right? And for that, we need some automated methods. So we also know from the literature and from the various studies that security is quite difficult to retrofit into design, right? And we nowadays, with quick continuous integration development cycles, security also needs, like development and designing security means also needs to deal with this quick cycles of CI/CD. Right. To summarize what we see currently, that we have some new requirements for security, new vulnerabilities coming from various sources, like various repositories for vulnerabilities, like common vulnerability enumeration, common weaknesses enumeration, common attack patterns, right? Requirements by standards, new standards coming, customer requirements coming. So, like, addressing those things takes a lot of time and a lot of manual work to cover that on development and operation sides, right? So what we would like to propose with our project, VeriDevOps, is automation. We want to reduce somehow this time from discovering to patching vulnerability, addressing the requirements. And we believe that comes up to, like, from requirements level. So assessing, analyzing, formalizing the requirements for security, producing the formal models, and out of those formal models to obtain specific checks, specific test cases, also configuring the monitoring tools and firewalls to close the doors for vulnerabilities. Right. For that, we decided to focus on several domains. First of them is formalizing the security requirements through specific NLP methods, where soft team in Polish University is involved. Then from formal requirements, from formal specifications, we can apply various verification methods such as model checking, test case generation, and we have several techniques that is currently developed in the project, and this is where Miller-Dahl University and Obo Academy is involved. Then we have monitoring and runtime, configuring, checking all kind of unexpected behavior, and this is where Ikerlan and Montimaj are involved. With that, we would like to provide methodology and improve automation for the tools to formalize security requirements, generate trace monitors, automated trace monitors, locate root causes for vulnerabilities, and identify security flaws in the code and design. So that has to improve productivity for our end users, ABB and Fagor, and we will be happy to collaborate with everyone in this project through collaborative workshops and discussions. So with that, I would like to end my brief presentation of the project. So if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Or also, we will run several research workshops where we invite everyone to discuss, particularly and focus on some of those technologies and some of the details of implementation. So, and we also is creating a book based on our findings in these domains. So if you like to join us, you are mostly welcome. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention, and yeah, have a nice evening.